Okay everyone, in this video I'm going to show you what design options are. And this is actually kind of like a tool slash function that's been put in Revit within like the past year or so. I believe maybe in 2015 is the first time it was used. It's a really nice function that you can use to kind of do multiple iterations of a design, whether it be conceptual or actually like in the schematic design phase. So I'm actually going to show you how to do it for, a conceptual kind of massing. To do like different variations of conceptual mass so you can do quick, energy calculations and have them all in the same file. But obviously you could use it, for, as I just mentioned, schematic design phase where, so, if this was your building, and this was your outer, profile, you could use design options to create different iterations of what the interior kind of layout would be, with walls and stuff like that. So that's kind of like a neat option, a neat thing with design options. So design options are under the Manage tab, and then you kind of have this design options panel, and you can see everything's pretty much grayed out when you first get to it, besides the design options, kind of button itself. So you click on that, it brings you to the design options window. And then you have what you have option set and options. So basically an option set it's kind of like what it is, it's a set. So if you create one, you have a set, and then you can add new options to that set. So you can add as many options as you want. So for instance, if you were designing, a building, you may have, this could be, the option set could be, first, it could be first floor, and then you could have option 1, through 6, many different design layouts, and then, you could do a second option, and then, you could call this, second floor. And then have as many options for that you would like. So that's kind of one thing that you can do. But for now, I'm going to actually delete these. This is really I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do like an option set, and I'm going to call it, conceptual masses or conceptual massing. Oops, that was. I want that to be optional. I want the whole set to be conceptual massing. Conceptual massing. So now you can have, I'm just going to I'll do like 3 different options. Obviously, you can name those options something, so if you have a couple of concepts based on something, you can name it, like say your concept's based on sustainability, you could say like sustainability option. Another one could be like, if you kind of use something to inspire you, maybe like, something with nature or something like that, you could, type that in as an option. But I'm just going to leave them as 1, 2, 3 for now. And then we'll get into what primary means in a second. But I want to show you what the options are. So once you have, like options created, you can see now that you have a drop-down menu. So a main model is the model itself. So obviously when you're not working with options, you always want to be in the main model, because you can see when I click on options, the main model goes gray. So I'm only can work on whatever option I'm doing. So I'm going to show you what options are. So for option 1, so as you can see, I'm in option 1. I am going to go to Mass and Insight, and I'm going to do an in-place mass 1, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and then I'm going to create the form, and I'm just going to do shapes so you can differentiate between them. So now my option 1 is that. And now if I switch back to the main model on the drop-down menu, I can click on everything again, but I can't click on what I just drew for that option. If I want to click on that and edit it or do anything with it, I have to go to option 1 primary. If it's on the drop-down menu, I have to go back to option 1, and then I'll be able to click on that. Now if I switch over to option 2, you see it goes blank. So now this is a new option that I can create something else in. So I can go to, I can go back to the Madison tab, Madison 2, and here I'm going to do a circle so we can obviously, again, see the difference. Create form, and then, you see if you ever do a circle, you can do a sphere or a cylinder. I'm just going to leave it a cylinder. Hit finish. So that is option 2. So now you see I have option 1 and I have option 2. If I go to option 3, I can do one more. And this one, I'll do like a pentagon or something. I'll do 5 size, so it's a pentagon. And I'll just draw that quickly. Create the form. So now, if I go back to the Manage tab, you see I have 3 options here. Now, the one that says primary, that is going to be the option that always shows when I switch back to main model. So you can see I switch back to the main model, and whatever option is set to primary is the one that's going to show. If I go back to that design options window, I can click on option 2 and say make this primary, and now that option 2 is now what's primary. Or I can go to option 3 and make that primary, and now that's what shows. You could also, if you go to whatever view that you're in, if you go to edit visibility, once you activate the design options, a design option tab appears. And if you see where it says conceptual mass, and that's obviously the option set that you created. So if I close that out for a second, conceptual masson was the name of the option set when I do new. So you see that's what it's called. And if it's set to automatic, that means whatever one is set to primary is what's going to show. But you can override that, so you can go to design options and you can override it and say, in this view, I always want option 1 to show. And so even though option 3 is set to primary, option 1 is shown in the main with the main model. So that helps you kind of do, if you wanted to print out or kind of display, 3 different options on a sheet, you could set, if I show you quickly, I can duplicate and then duplicate again. So I can have 3, 3D views, and then in this one, I can say it's option 1, and this one, I can say it's option 2, and then in this one, I can say it's option 3. So now I just created, I have the options, they're all in the views, but now I easily created 3 views that shows the 3 different options, so I can put them on a sheet or just have them ready. So like if you wanted to show a professor or some, and if it's real, in a work environment, you can show a client and switch between them easily. And then you could also, use that as a way to run solar analysis and leave the images up on the screen instead of having to like save them out as a JPEG or something like that. So that's kind of what the functions of design options to let you do. Again, obviously this kind of same strategy can be applied to the schematic design phase when you're doing design options for, say, like a layout of interior spaces or anything like that. It could be as large as a floor plan, or you could use it just to lay out a specific room. It's kind of like your own kind of thing, whatever you want to do. Basically, design options can be deployed to anything. I could have done it when I did the site in Tutorial V. I could have done design options and done like 5 iterations of a site. So, you can basically use it for anything. The one thing that I do want to show for like the final thing, you can see that there's a button that says Accept Primary. Now what this does is, if you hit Accept Primary, whatever option you have set to primary, it's going to take that option and add it to the main model, but delete everything else. So obviously it's not something that you want to do often. It's probably like maybe towards the end of the project, or depending on what you're doing. You know, maybe, or you know, if you're ever going to accept a primary option, you know, maybe that's a time where you save this file as like a different version or name it differently, so you still have the other options as backups in case you ever need to go back. But you know, instances could be like this if I have, you know, these three maps and options for my building, and I want to pick this one to get started with the actual schematic design, you know, then maybe, you know, I say accept primary, and then it tells you it's going to delete all the other the secondary options, and then that's because I have cancel out of this for a second. I gotta switch this back to automatic. And then now if I do accept primary, so you see now that this is grayed out again, there's no more drop down, and this becomes part of the main model. And then, you know, before, if I do undo, for those of you that if you didn't watch tutorial A, Control Z is to undo quickly. So that's if you ever see on my screen where I go back and I quickly have this again, it's because of Control Z. So that's kind of what design options are. I just wanted to show that quickly. So when you guys get into your in week 3, your actual design, you can do, you know, concept models quickly. If you ever wanted to do that. So I think that's it for this video. The next video that I do will be how to bring in a SketchUp file into Revit and make it a mass, so you can run like all types of energy analysis or solar analysis.